How's everyone doing? This is going to be my top 10 movies from 2011. Now, of course, this list is subjective, like every top 10 list is, every top list out there. But definitely let me know what you think of my choices, what movies you would add to the list, and what movies you would take off. And it's impossible to see every movie out there, so if you have any recommendations, definitely let me know them as well. But again, these are my choices, my favorite movies that I've seen of 2011. So let's get on to the list. At number 10 is The Descendants, directed by Alexander Payne, and of course starring George Clooney, Matthew Lillard, Beau Bridges, and Judy Greer, who I think doesn't get enough credit for some of her roles, especially in this movie as well. And this movie seems to be a very polarizing movie. It seems to be a love it or hate it movie, and I personally really enjoyed it. It's basically a movie about family tragedy and how things go from good to bad to worse and how everybody deals with it. I just felt like it was emotionally honest and it was just kind of raw. It was basically an emotional roller coaster. I just really enjoyed the family dynamic and again the emotional honesty of the movie and how everybody dealt with everything. I really appreciated it and I really enjoyed Hawaii, the scenery of Hawaii. The cinematography was awesome and the soundtrack I really enjoyed as well. So that's my number 10 spot, The Descendants. And my number 9 spot is Red State, directed by Kevin Smith. It was billed as a horror movie, but for me it was more of an action thriller. It does have horror elements in it, but regardless of what genre you want to categorize it as, it was very tense, very suspenseful. I really enjoyed this movie. It was something different from Kevin Smith. He usually does the slapstick kind of comedy movies, and this was a huge departure, and it really worked out well in my opinion. And I would love to see more movies like this from Kevin Smith. And it's basically about a crazy religious group, kind of like the Westboro Baptist Church. It seemed like it was kind of adapted from them. And basically there's a showdown with these crazy religious fanatics and FBI agents and great cast as well. Michael Parks did a phenomenal job in this movie. Melissa Leo, John Goodman, Kevin Pollak, Kyle Gallner, Carrie Bechet. They all did a great job in this movie. It was really gritty and tense and suspenseful. And I would love to see more movies like this from Kevin Smith. And next up on my number 8 spot is Melancholia by Lars von Trier. And this one was just so visually stunning to me. And I think the cast was perfect for this one as well. I'm not a big Kirsten Dunst fan, but this role in particular really worked for her. And again, the whole cast was great. Alexander Skarsgård, Stellan Skarsgård, Kiefer Sutherland, Charlotte Gainsbourg, who was also in Antichrist. And I feel like if you like Lars von Trier movies, you will enjoy Melancholia, especially if you liked Antichrist. It kind of had a similar feel to it as Antichrist did. And the movie title is aptly named, and it has a very melancholy feel to the movie all throughout. And it basically centers in around a family, especially two sisters, and there's another planet that is coming really close to the Earth. It's in the Earth's orbit system, and a lot of the people are freaking out, and half the people are saying, you know, it's not going to come near, it's just going to pass us by, and it's basically how they deal with this coming planet. And it just goes through all the motions. In the beginning, there's a wedding, and they go back to this deserted area, and it's really beautiful. And they're riding the horses, and you could tell right away there's certain things that are going on, and how the animals react. And it's just basically an emotional roller coaster. And I really like how all the characters start at one area and then end at another area emotionally. It's a very surreal movie, and I really love the ending to this one. And the cinematography was just beautiful. And you know what? I'm really shocked that Tree of Life was nominated for Best Picture, but Melancholia wasn't. I mean, come on. I prefer Melancholia way over Tree of Life, but that's just my opinion. Melancholia deserves way more credit than it's getting. I personally love Lars von Trier. He has so many great movies, and this is just another one in his catalog of great movies. And next up at my number 7 spot is Warrior. And to me, this is this generation's Rocky. This movie was so emotionally moving, so powerful. You know, I heard so much hype about this movie. I put off watching it for a while, and I finally watched it, and I was blown away. I really got sucked into it. While there are some things that, you know, if I was going to nitpick certain things about the end fight, like, you know, that wouldn't really happen. He wasn't intelligently defending himself. That's me nitpicking. That's just a small thing. But that really added to the emotional, dramatic aspect of the movie as well. But Nick Nolte was great. He kind of reminded me of a mixture of Mick and Paulie all together. But Tom Hardy and Joel Edgerton did a great job. Tom Hardy especially blew me away in this one. And you know, you get to see Kurt Angle in here as well. It's a very moving story. It has redemption in it. It has some good fight scenes in it. It's basically everything you want from an emotional action movie. Great drama elements in it throughout, especially how Nick Nolte's character deals with his two sons, and then how his two sons deal with each other. And if you're an MMA fan, this is definitely a movie you want to check out. The score was just awesome, all throughout the movie, and especially at the end of the movie as well. Tremendous. And my number 6 spot is Tyrannosaur. And this is the feature film-length directorial debut from Paddy Considine, who wrote and starred in Dead Man's Shoes. And this movie was just raw and riveting, and right from the beginning I was thinking, oh, please don't let him do that, and he does it, and it's just right from that beginning, it just shows you what kind of movie this is going to be, and it comes hard and strong right from the get-go. And it's basically about a man who is consumed with rage and anger, and he has these violent outbursts, and he meets a lady who could possibly be his redemption, but there's much more to her story as well. And it's a very emotional movie, lots of great drama, and it's very dark tone throughout, and it really works well, and I love the performances in this one. Peter Mullen and Olivia Colman do a fantastic job. Both were just excellent in this one. And this movie definitely deserves to be checked out. Like I said, it is a darker movie. A lot of these ones on my list are darker movies. I don't necessarily need a happy ending kind of movie. I like the movie if it's well done, well made. You know, you can take different things from each movie. Depressing, happy, whatever. But this one just really works. Now, I will say my one little nitpick is the ending. You know, we've seen this kind of ending before. I kind of wanted a little bit more from the ending, but it was definitely one of my favorite movies of the year by far. Like I said, it's a very dark-toned movie. It does have some violent aspects to it. And after I watched this movie, I really wanted to hug my dog. If you've seen the movie, you know why. And next up at my number 5 spot is Shame, starring Michael Fassbender and Carey Mulligan. Absolutely love this one. This is another darker toned movie, and it kind of shows you about sexual addiction and abuse and what happens to people who deal with those sorts of things. And again, it's a very emotionally honest movie. It's very raw, and the whole movie kind of has a bleak look to it as well. And Michael Fassbender, aka the Unit, you know, you definitely see some shots of his unit in this one, and impressive job, Michael Fassbender. And this is directed by Steve McQueen, who also did a collaboration with Michael Fassbender in the movie Hunger as well. And it's basically about Brandon, who lives in New York City, who, again, he's addicted to sex. And it just shows his personal relations, how he can't deal with real romantic love interests, but how he can easily deal with just, you know, cheap hookups and sex like that. And his sister comes to visit him and wants to stay with him. It kind of adds a whole new dynamic, and it kind of throws everything off for him. And it just shows the effects of abuse and what happened in their lives and how they've dealt with it, and basically all the repercussions that come with abuse. And it's just, again, a very raw movie, very dark-toned, but very emotionally honest, and I really enjoyed this one. And Shame is another movie, in my opinion, that got snubbed by the Oscars. This deserved much more credit than it's getting. And next up on my number 4 spot is The Hunter, starring Willem Dafoe and Sam Neill. Willem Dafoe plays basically a mercenary, kind of a hunter, who's hired by this corporation to find a Tasmanian tiger, which has been long thought to be extinct, but there was a sighting of one, and, you know, it's documented, and they send him out there to go find it. And the movie is shot in Australia, and Australia is just beautiful. The cinematography is awesome. But that being said, it still has kind of a bleak tone throughout the movie as well. I know I've said that for a lot of these movies on my list, but it's very true. And it struck an emotional chord with me. And I absolutely love the ending. And Willem Dafoe, what he decides to do, just loved it. That's what made the movie for me. But Willem Dafoe, his character travels to Australia. He's going to pay a ton of money to hunt down this Tasmanian tiger, and he stays with his family who works for the corporation. And the father of the family has been missing for a long time, and the mother's bedridden and depressed, and she doesn't do anything. She just sleeps all the time. And the 2 children kind of take care of themselves, and it kind of adds that kind of family dynamic to it. And Willem Dafoe kind of, you know, changes things, and lots of great dramatic aspects of this film. And again, that ending just really made the movie for me. And I love Willem Dafoe as an actor. He was great in this as well. And the number 3 movie on my list is Drive. Now, this is one of the more hyped up movies of the year, and this is another one I was going into. I was thinking, oh, I'm not going to like it. All these movies that are usually hyped up, I'm not too big a fan of, but this one definitely lived up to the hype and surpassed it. A very stylistic movie. Has a lot of 80s feel to it, from the soundtrack to even his jacket was very 80s. And a great cast. You have Ryan Gosling, Carey Mulligan, which again is just so gorgeous. She was in Shame as well. And you have Bryan Cranston from Breaking Bad, and he's the father from Malcolm in the Middle. And you've got Ron Perlman and Albert Brooks. Just a great cast. Everybody played their part perfectly. And it's directed by Nicholas Winding Refn, who also did the Pusher series, Bronson, and Valhalla Rising. He definitely has a style about him, and Drive is just, again, very stylistic. Can't say enough great things about Drive. And Drive, again, was definitely a big Oscar snub. Deserves way more credit than at least the Academy is giving it. And Ryan Gosling, he plays a driver. He doesn't really speak very much, and he gets caught up in a botched robbery, and it involves the mob, and all kinds of things go wrong. The soundtrack was just awesome for this movie, and I really enjoyed this performance by Ryan Gosling. It's not his typical kind of romantic comedy kind of movies that he usually does. Really enjoyed it. Far departure from that. And there's a lot of violent scenes in this movie, and I think the violence really stands out because, you know, there's kind of like a quietness about it, and then all of a sudden it's just the impact of that violence, it really stands out, given the rest of the movie and the nature of the movie, how it's very kind of silent. And there's some great car chase scenes in this as well. Very tense and very palpable action in it. And while I didn't necessarily love the ending, I did find it fitting for the film. And it was definitely one of the best movies of the year. Definitely check out Drive if you haven't seen it. And in my number 2 spot is The Skin I Live In, directed by Pedro Almodovar, who's done so many great movies. And this is one of my favorites. Just a tremendous movie, very haunting, and very twisted as well. This isn't going to be for everybody, but I loved it. Definitely one of the best movies of the year in my opinion. And Elena Anaya is just so breathtakingly beautiful in this one. And Antonio Banderas was perfect in this role. He plays a plastic surgeon who's just haunted by past family tragedies, and just, I don't want to give too much away about this one. You know, you can check out the trailer. I definitely recommend this one. It definitely has a little bit of a sick and twisted nature about the film, and it's got a darker tone to it as well. So visually stunning, so visceral, and just a haunting one. One that I thought about for a while after I watched it. Extremely emotionally moving as well. Highly recommend The Skin I Live In. And my number 1 favorite movie of the year is The Flowers of War, starring Christian Bale. Just a tremendous movie. It takes place during Japan's occupying and destruction of Nanking in 1937, and just all the crazy things that happen in war. And some of the beginning sequences almost remind me of Saving Private Ryan, with all the excellent action and war sequences in the beginning. Love them. And basically Christian Bale pretends to be a priest, and he goes to this convent, and he's, you know, watching over all these young girls, and he's basically just trying to protect them, and he's also trying to protect himself from being killed by the Japanese. And one thing I really enjoyed about this movie was the narration from one of the young girls, and I wish they would have had more of that as well. It really added kind of an emotional impact to the movie, and especially towards the end where there's the one young boy who's supposed to watch over the young girls to protect them, and what happens to him, and when she's doing the narration of talking about that, really loved that part as well. Such a powerful movie, and again, it shows all the tragedies of war and just what happens during it and the effects. It's just so gripping and tense. And Christian Bale is one of my favorite actors. He's been great in so many roles. And this one, his performance doesn't overshadow the movie, but it's suited for the movie, and he does a great job in it. And the actress who played Nini, Yu Mo, is incredibly beautiful. She has such a classic beauty to her, and she had a great performance in the movie as well. And The Flowers of War is directed by Yumo Zhang, who did Hero, House of the Flying Daggers, Curse of the Golden Flower, and The Flowers of War is just another great movie from him. And this is by far my favorite movie of the year. Such a powerful and moving film. So there you go, there's my top 10 movies of 2011. Let me know what you think of my list. Let me know if you've seen the movies and what you think of them, and what movies you would add to the list and what ones you would take off. Definitely leave me a comment or video response down below. Hope everybody's doing well. Take care.